There she is.
When Annabel was born, it was the most magical moment. We held this new little peanut. She was tiny, 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 but just so perfect. And we were so thrilled. And we'll always remember the moment that Clara, our older daughter, ran in and met Annabel for the first time.
Do you want to tell her?
I love you so much. We're gonna be best friends.
Oh.
The pregnancy was all normal. Annabel was a bit late and she was a bit small, but other than that, we weren't expecting anything to go wrong at that point. At Annabel's 2-month checkup, she had what we believe to be a seizure.
She's not red anymore.
Her eyes would twitch a lot, and it would look like she couldn't control her eye movements. She couldn't really focus on anything. It looked like she had lost a large level of consciousness.
Annabel, it's okay.
Months passed and Annabel's symptoms seemed to be getting worse. She started having these episodes of paralysis where she couldn't move one side of her body, and it lasted, for the longest time, it lasted for a week. Things seemed really to be spiraling out of control. She'd have episode after episode after episode, and we had no answers. And we'd ask and we'd ask, and we kind of didn't get anywhere.
There was 2 years between initial diagnosis of epilepsy and deteriorating symptoms and drug after drug without any effect.
When Annabel was almost 2 years old, I called her wonderful neurologist, and he happened to be at a conference. And he said, you know, Annabel's disease, it sounds kind of like this conference I'm at. You know, there's this thing called alternating hemiplegia of childhood, and it's a very rare disease, but some of the symptoms sound very similar. That's interesting. And we kind of ended the conversation, and of course I started Googling immediately. And we happened across this documentary, and our mouths kind of fell open, and I think we both started crying, and we thought, this is what it is. We waited and we did some genetic testing, and you know, lo and behold, it was confirmed that she actually did have this awful and devastating disease.
Hi.
Who are you saying hi to?
There are only 1 in a million kids that have it, and Annabel's specific mutation, there are only 2 other children in the world with that.
We knew what it was, but we couldn't do anything about it. Our daughter had a disease with no real effective treatment, no cure. You know, we were, of course, worried about would she die very young. But another troubling thing for us is that a really large proportion of children with this disease will suffer a particularly debilitating episode, and they might never recover from it. They might never walk or talk again. They might be bedbound forever afterwards.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Annabel.
We started to get scientific about it. It was, let me see how I can understand this disease a little better, because nobody knows about it. It took me probably 16 hours to read my first paper. Every term was a scientific term that I'd never heard of before. But every morning I got up because there were new ideas. Every paper had something new, and it wasn't me getting up because I was motivated. It wasn't me getting up because Annabel, you know, needed to be cured, but it was because I felt like there was something new to pursue, and so we read between us probably 300 papers on the subject, and started to find that there was hope. Science has come a long way in the last 10 years, and genetic diseases are treatable through drugs, through genetic therapy, and we think that we can find a way to do it now. In fact, we have found a way that we can do it.
You got me.
We've been lucky enough to meet with many of the best scientists in the world on AAV-mediated gene therapy. And this method has been used to help 10 or more diseases already, rescue them, and is having miraculous effects.
We feel like we've got a lot of responsibility to help not just Annabel, but the other children with her disease, and more broadly, other children with rare neurological diseases who, you put them together and all of a sudden you're talking about a much more substantial group of children. All of them could be helped. If we can establish a method of gene therapy that helps Annabel and helps her disease, there are many, many other diseases that could follow the same path and cure those diseases as well.
Let's see your leg, buddy. Come walk.
Careful, too good. It's okay, come on.
Come on. Is it still, baby?
There's no typical day for Annabel. Her life is like a little mini roller coaster.
Can you massage it? See if it bends or like. Can you see if it bends or not?
No, it doesn't bend.
Yeah.
She has good days and she has bad days. Her bad days are when she has episodes and she's in pain, she's in distress, and then afterwards she sometimes can't stand, she often can't walk, sometimes she can't crawl, she'll fall frequently.
Breathe, honey, breathe.
Breathe, babe.
Breathe, Belle.
She'll have trouble swallowing and eating safely. And then she'll usually have a couple good days where she's learning new words and playing with her sister and happy as can be and always wanting to go and see her friends and play with her friends and see people and be out in the world. We have a limited amount of time to help Annabel before the atrophy that's happening in her brain is irreversible. With every one of these episodes, there's a chance that her brain has been damaged from it. One of the things that we've found is that you have to be an advocate for your daughter. We can't just let science do magic without, funding it and providing enough money to make things happen for Annabel and to push our disease, because it's so important to us and to all these other children who are suffering and who don't have hope.
Do another one for good measure.